So it's first impressions time again. Last season I sort of lacked on my coverage because I had less time over summer and I just lacked any interest to keep up with the shows. Albeit largely sequels, I'm just much more interested than I was last season. So let's have a look into the fall 2015 anime season. So we have yet another installment to this seemingly endless franchise. However, this one seems fairly self-contained, so I thought I'd treat it as its own series. My experience with the Gundam franchise or any series of this vein has never been that great. They never get the balance needed to create what they're going for. Iron-blooded Orphans has a very fun and instantly likeable cast of characters. Although they were fairly underwritten and quite predictable, they weren't too gloomy or too happy. It was a very dynamic cast with a range of personalities. But what let the rest of the characters down was the rest of the characters. There were just too many for one episode. They should have been halved, maybe even more for the first episode. They clearly don't have enough writing talent to develop more characters than there are minutes in the episode. So just keep it simple. This is my biggest criticism of the series so far. It's trying too hard and offering too little. What it has is a very fun action series that might not break records but will sprout some interesting character stories. But what it's trying to do is something very different. It's trying to be a full war drama, introducing 3 or 4 main plotlines in the first episode, all with their own locations and characters. This just won't work, has the potential to overflow and become very messy. But if they keep it simple, I think I'll like it. To summarise, the writing was predictable and the characters weren't too interesting, but it has charm and personality, and I like that. I normally try and create a balance of positive and negative observations while critiquing the new seasonal shows, but for this show I'm struggling to find anything negative. What hits you first is the show's loud art style, and it was gorgeous, bright, and most importantly expressive. Not only did it look nice, but it added so much to the narrative. Now, the story takes a little longer to kick in. At first it seems like a simple comedy action series, but as the episode progresses, the sometimes symbolic and constantly fast-paced writing gets a lot more serious, and at some points very impressive. My favourite part of the episode was definitely the pacing. Helped by the aforementioned symbolic narrative and fast cuts, the show flew through plot points with ease, not leaving anything too underexplained or too over-focused. This series has taken a lot onto its plate, but I genuinely think it has potential to manage it. Tastes of fantastic writing and one of the most creative art styles I've seen all year became one of my most enjoyable watches as of recent. I was initially impressed by Comet Lucifer's first episode. The first few minutes showed a well-designed world, interesting art and the promise of an intriguing story, but I felt as if the episode never built on that momentum. It peaked instantly then declined throughout the episode. As it went on I felt myself getting more disconnected with everything as it shifted focus from a few characters to multiple big plot points, and they were just impossible to comprehend. By the end I felt completely lost and out of touch with the characters, but this was simply due to the poor structure of that episode. It's certainly not a long-term problem. They brought up a lot in the first episode, but if they can somehow address all of that, then it could be an interesting series. Now this next series was quite possibly the most anticipated show of the season. It was flashy, unique, and quite accessible for most viewers. It was an interesting episode for me. I didn't go in with any idea of what the series would be about, and to my surprise that paid off quite nicely. The whole episode is essentially one joke. That's kind of the premise. An absurdly powerful superhero fights cliché villains with the result of him being too powerful and returning to his mundane life. It's a funny look into what a superhero's life would be like if they were just too powerful. It nicely parodies those generic superhero writing tropes, and at times it's comedy very well, but I left the episode feeling with a sense of pointlessness. I get the joke, and the joke was funny, but what now? I understand that that's sort of the point and in itself is another layer of comedy, but there needs to be more than the joke. I felt like I had experienced One Punch Man after 10 minutes. My only concern for this series is that there just isn't enough. But regardless of that, it was a very enjoyable first episode, so I'm looking forward to more. Now this year's had a very odd first episode. It was a bunch of very simple, unexplained elements told in a way that was much more complex than it needed to be. We weren't really told much about the characters, the story, or even the world. The series chose to hold off its narrative information, but it done the complete opposite with its visual narrative. It was packed with detailed shots, big landscapes, and interesting scenery. It built up this fabulous world but didn't fill it with anything. I would say I'm confident that they'll fill it later, but the spots of poor writing have me a little worried. The very little narrative they did give us was extremely basic, essentially a bunch of cliches strung together over a 20-minute period. Like I said, the show is full of confidence in its visual personality, but it seems to hold back in its narrative. This could be a problem, but it's easily solved. So many shows this season have evoked me critically. Whether good or bad, I was interested in all of them. This series was a large disappointment. Not only was it significantly lower quality than anything else I've tried, but I was just so disinterested. The series made no attempt at structure and had no awareness of its viewer's perspective. It told all of its story through bland dialogue with characters we had yet to develop any attachment for. If dialogue is something you want to use as your main pillar of storytelling, you have to make me care about who's talking first. This just set up a domino effect of disinterest. One at a time I became completely detached with the series. Towards the end of the episode I was completely zoning in and out. With a complete disregard for the viewer and no respect for its own dignity, I can't really give this series any praise at all. But overall this season has been pretty good so far. There's a lot of creativity and shows are trying new things. I can genuinely see a number of these shows being pretty good come the end of the season. But please do share your thoughts about the season so far in the comments. And if you've seen something worth watching that I've not checked out so far, then let me know in the comments. Remember to click the like button, share this around with your friends and check out some more videos. You can also subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you very much for watching.